First Lady is speaking out tonight about the administration's immigration policy. Back now, Alice Stewart, Hillary Rosen, and Max Boot. Okay, so Alice, Melania Trump spoke to ABC News tonight. Here's what she said. This is about her husband's immigration policy. Watch.
I believe in the policies that my husband put together because I believe that we need to be very vigilant who is coming to the country.
But do you think people should be able to bring in their mother and their father?
Yes, of course. But we need to vet them. We need to know who they are.
Have you told your husband this?
Yes, of course.
And what does he say?
He agrees.
So, what do you think of what the First Lady said, Alice?
Well, it's true. People should be able to bring in their families, provided they are properly vetted and they go through the proper channels and they go through the legal process for coming into this country and following the laws and following the rules and coming about it in a legal manner. And I think she's right to feel that way, and that's the way it should be. As long as they're doing it the legal way through the legal channels, that's the way it should be.
Okay. Hillary, what's wrong? You look troubled.
Well, I'm confused because I guess Mrs. Trump and my friend Alice don't know that the president has actually come out and opposed to this so-called chain migration policy where they're allowing families in. And so,
but didn't her family come in for family reunification, or what they call chain migration? Her parents?
Her parents were allowed in, yes, but others have been blocked. Look, this is, you know, I'm not going to take off after Mrs. Trump for her husband's policies. I don't think that's appropriate. But I do think that it's unfortunate that she said tonight also in this interview that she wore that infamous jacket to go to Texas when it said, I don't really care.
I want to play it. Let's play it.
Oh, okay,
Let's play it and then we'll talk about it. Here it is.
I wore the jacket to go on the plane and off the plane. And it was for the people and for the left-wing media who are criticizing me, and I want to show them that I don't care. You could criticize whatever you want to say, but it will not stop me to do what I feel is right.
What was it that compelled you to wear that at that moment? Because you were down there, you had just been with children, and then you put the jacket on.
After the visit, I put it back on because I see how media got obsessed about it.
So, okay, all right. Listen, you're right. It's maybe
can we
inappropriate, but do you remember? Everyone said there's got to be a message behind it. You don't wear that jacket with that on the back, and there's no message behind it. One of it was like maybe it was to her husband. Some people said maybe it was to the media, and now she's saying it was to the media. The White House mocked the media for focusing on it, for trying to figure out what it was, and of course tonight here it is. You know, the so-called fake news is real.
Well, her spokesperson specifically said, Don, as
her
you recall,
spokesperson
that
said
there
it was a jacket.
no message.
There's no message, right?
No message, right? And so now tonight she's telling us exactly the opposite. It was a message. That, I think, is extremely frustrating. We knew at the time there was a message. We only could speculate on it. But regardless, let's remember she was going to the border to check on children that had been aggressively separated from their parents in horrifying ways, in painful ways. This is tearing the country apart. And that was the day that she thought it would be fun to poke at the left-wing media like that. And it's still tonight in this interview when she didn't express pain around that for those families. It's just sad. I find it all sad that she's gotten caught up in her husband's attacks on the media instead of focusing on real problems with these policies.
Well, Max, she also said that she was blindsided by the family separation. I'll let you continue, but she was blindsided by the family separation policy. She called it heartbreaking and unacceptable to see children separated from their parents. Does it sound like she's trying to have it both ways, Max?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's good cause to doubt that she really supports the president's immigration policies. I mean, the other thing that she said in the last few days, which was amazing, was she said that she is the most bullied person in the world, which I thought that Chris Hayes had a perfect comeback to that, where he said he's never ceases to be amazed by the way that certain conservatives can be both victims and victors. And there is, and I think what Melania Trump is reflecting is also what her husband does all the time is, oh, poor me, I'm so victimized, I'm being bullied by all the people on the other side, when this is the first couple of the land. I mean, they are living in the White House. They are in complete charge. And her husband, of course, is the #1 bully in America, which, you know, makes you wonder about who the real target of Melania Trump's anti-bullying campaign is. I mean, be best is something that her husband could take to heart. And the reality is, I don't actually think that Melania Trump is criticized that much because, like most first ladies, she manages to be above politics most of the time, and her approval ratings are much higher than Donald Trump's. So her sense of victimhood, I think, is out of place here.
I just think about, listen, the first lady, they're not the president of the United States, they're not the leader of the free world, but I don't think people should be criticizing her for her husband's policies, or any first lady for her husband's policies, but to be bullied about fashion for something like that, or not to be bullied, but to be criticized about that is not being bullied. There was a message behind it. And first ladies are always scrutinized. I mean, look, people scrutinize Jackie Kennedy. They scrutinize Mrs. Ford. They scrutinize Mrs. Reagan's fashion. They scrutinize Mrs. Obama's fashion. They called her all horrible. They compared her to animals. And to say she's the most bullied person on earth, or one of, I just think it's
and she did
Dawn,
that.
I think it's important
to
know
ever
that
have real moments of reflection is what I am, is how I feel.
Yeah,
because
get some proportion here.
Everyone always thinks that she's going to be different than her husband. She was a birther as well. She went along with that as well. So,
Don, I think it's important to point out that she clarified that by saying she feels like she is one of the most bullied people, because she is criticized very often, and I think so much gets lost in the day that she did go down to the border.
Criticism is not necessarily
she showed
bullying,
sympathy for the
Alice.
children, and so much attention. Granted, I think it was wrong that she wore that coat that day, but it's unfortunate
And you said it here on
that
the air.
more time was spent on talking about the coat than the compassion that she showed to children on the border,
but she did that, Alice. That's her fault.
I mean, it's funny. Come on,
I gotta go. She wore
story,
a coat that said,
right?
"I really don't care, do you?" I mean,
that's her responsibility.
Melania Trump, actually, the first lady, actually complains that people focus on her clothing rather than her message. But then she wears very striking clothing, like she was wearing that kind of colonial out of Africa outfit when she went to Africa, or she was wearing that jacket with the not caring message on it. So, I mean, if she doesn't want people to focus on her clothes, I mean, she doesn't have to dress in such a controversial fashion.
Okay, I've got to go. Thank you all.